Well, this is exciting. Look what I've been sent. They make a great noise. It's 60 acrylic markers from the very kind people at Arrtx. So I'm going to try these out on black and white paper to see how opaque they are. I'm going to take a look at how much they cost, see whether I think they offer good value for money, and then I am going to put them into practice on a piece of artwork, which I'm not quite sure what that'll be yet. Last time I tried out the Arrtx markers, I painted snail shells. So yeah, I wonder what I can paint this time. My name's Liz Chaderton. I'm a watercolour artist based in Berkshire. Yes, I'm a watercolour artist, and here I am reviewing acrylic markers, but that's because I really like mixed media, and I like to see how media work together and what's out there that I can possibly use in my work. First things first, this poor box arrived rather dented, and it looks like the courier has used it as a stepping stone. This is not Arrtx's fault as far as I can see, because it came really well packaged. It had these bits on both sides, then it had some more foam stuff wrapped around it, then it had some bubble wrap wrapped around it, and finally this was the outer packaging, and that's more bubble wrap. So you've got to say they tried, but honestly I don't know whether the couriers had a football match with this in the depot. Luckily, none of the pens were damaged. The packaging did what it's meant to do and protected it. So if we open them up, we have 60 pens, which I've already shown you. Arrtx have 2 sets of these acrylic markers, so do watch out for that. This is the 60B set, which they describe as the anime set. It has quite a few pastel colours in it, and sort of skin tones and greys, and it's designed more for that sort of cartoon illustration. The 60A set is full of brighter everyday colours, and I believe that has some neons in it and maybe even some metallics, but I haven't got the 60A, I've got the 60B. Just worth checking if you are going to order these online so that you don't get the wrong set. When I opened them up, it came, these little stickers fell out, and I'm guessing that these are designed to go on top of the pens to identify the colour, and these are probably for swatching, or I guess you could put them on the lids. On the grounds that this is going to be a long and rather tedious process, I will carry on, turn the camera off and come back to you when I've done it. Well, that was a pain in the bottom, if I may say, partly because halfway through I got out of order. One of these was over and I then ended up having to peel loads off. Oh well, 'tis done. I had reviewed this marker set, which I really loved because there was no pumping, you just shook them and went. And I assumed this set was identical to this set, but they're not. They are both acrylic brush pens, so that is the same, but they have a different design. These ones, it says a very important no pumping, which I like. These need to be shaken and then used. Apparently these don't need shaking. They both are matte and opaque, etc., etc. So I will be really interested to see how they compare, because what I particularly liked about these is that you can take that off and see how much ink you've got left. Because if you're starting on a piece of artwork and you're about to run out, you might choose a different colour. Sadly, these ones don't. So you cannot see how much ink you've got. That's a real shame. I love the design of these, and you could actually see through the transparent daisies as well, even without taking it off. These are all labelled up with the colours, and the colours on these do not appear to correspond with colours on those. They come in this box with a holder and they're all nibbed down, so I presume that is to help the ink flow and make sure that the nib doesn't dry up in storage. They say these are odourless and non-toxic, which is cool. You work on rocks, wood, canvas, paper, pretty much any surface according to Arrtx. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they perform. What I've done is get a piece of mount board, black mount board, so that I can try them on a black and a white surface to see how bright they are and how opaque they are. This to size so I can store it inside the box and keep it with the pens. So they don't need shaking, which seems wrong to me, but let's actually take them at their word and swatch them out. They certainly are all working straight out of the box, which is great. Oh, that's a nice colour. Hard to judge opacity on the white side, which is why I've done the black as well. Hooray, halfway through. Nice purples. It's a nice green. It's a sucker for a teal. Oh, we're there with black as our final one. Well, that was worth doing because when I saw this was sort of the pastel anime set, I thought, oh, are these all going to be a bit wishy-washy? But actually, these are really lovely colours. It's a bit weak on, say, the reds. They've got this great range of greys, some lovely purples in there, really broad range of greens and some lovely teals. Yeah, great fun. I'll do exactly the same on the black to see how opaque they are. As you can see, not great marking out on my behalf, but there you go. Oh, that's interesting. So white, not opaque. Ooh, ooh, these are not looking good. Let's give that a shake and see whether shaking helps these. Right, as I said, they didn't need shaking, but that is looking really watery. Grab. So that is one layer really sinking into the surface. This is just a bit of mount board. Right, we'll let those dry and then layer those. Yeah, you're definitely going to have to layer up these colours. I'm quite disappointed with these so far, cannot tell a lie. So I'm doing them without the shaking, one layer only, and they are just sinking into the paper and really transparent. Wow, that has surprised me, and I'm just looking. This was from the 36 set, and those were my black swatches there. And I assumed the ink was the same in these as in there, but that looks an awful lot more opaque. These are a little bit on the disappointing side. Let me put a second layer on all of them and see how that helps. They've now all got 2 layers on, and it certainly is really helping the opacity, but it's still not brilliant in places. So if you're wanting to cover the colour, you are going to have to layer and layer and layer. Swatching can be a right pain, especially when you've got this many colours, but it just goes to show why it's necessary. Because on there I was thinking, oh, these are so opaque and lovely, and they come out really matte, and you know, that looks great. Less so over here. I'm sure you're wondering how much the set costs. So in the UK, these are currently £64.99 for the 60 pens. So just over £1 a pen. I looked up in the States, it is currently showing at $76.99, and the A set, the 60A set, was showing at about $80. In the European Union, it seems to be around the €70 mark. And I'm afraid they weren't available in Australia when I looked at Amazon on Australia. If you are interested, I'll put all the links to the different Amazon sites in the description. It's worth saying that they do dry really, really quickly, but if you get water on them rapidly, you can use them as a paint blend with water. They don't give off any odour that I can smell, and of course, to avoid them drying up, you do need to make sure that lid's on and it is a very good firm click. And then I would store them lid side down. Well, as you can see from my hands, I've been having a little play because I said I wanted to try some artwork with the pens to see how they work, and I was thinking, how can I test out these nice colours, especially on white, because I didn't really like them on black, and testing out how they blend as well as the marks they make. And then I had an idea, and I thought I would make a little set of coasters because I happened to order a few days ago these coaster blanks. They're just wood, 10 centimetres square, and I got 30 for, I think it was 15 or 16 pounds. They're about 50p each, and they come with little feet that you can stick on afterwards to stop them scuffing your table. Anyway, it was for a different project, but I've got 30, which I didn't need. So I thought, oh, I'll do some little hand-painted coasters. If they're a bit rough when they arrive, I just got some sandpaper and gently sanded off the corners. Then, because we discovered, of course, that the inks weren't quite as opaque as we wanted, I thought need to be a light surface. So I used some gesso, which is a primer that you would use on canvases, and just white gesso, and put one coat on. And what I thought I would paint was this sort of set of little, I don't know, wildflower meadow type things. They're not really meant to be anything terribly specific. And I'm going to start with quite a watercolory sort of background to test the blending capabilities of the pens. And then I'm going to work in the detail and use some of the mark making capacity, and it will also show how it layers on top of each other. So I thought it was a pretty good test in the end. Quite proud of myself for that. So I'm just going to start by laying down a whole load of yellow, and then quickly, because we saw how quickly they dried, I'm just putting clean water on the top and blending the edge to get a more watercolory sort of effect. Let's put some orange at the top, and again just clean water, blend it in. Put my little colour chart so I can see it, just in case there's something specific I want. And I'm going to put some grass or green down the bottom, and then again with my clean water just blend it in. Let's get a slightly different green. Put that in there. Maybe a brighter green. Oh, that is bright. Let's hope that blends, because that's really quite a nasty green. Just going to sort of pull that green up to form sort of the wishy-washy background leaves. So bring it all up like that, and that just makes it all quite nice and soft in the background. While that's drying, I can use other colours, and this is quite interesting. Look, on a wet background you get some really nice spreading and soft marks, and as it dries you'll get sort of less spreading. Bring some light in. I'm very impressed with how much the paint actually moves in the wet. See, this is dry or dryish here, and we're not getting much spreading, but here down where it is wet we're getting a lot more. And once you're happy with how that background's looking, we just need to let it dry, or indeed pop a hairdryer on it. And then we can start to build up our flowers. So I might start, I'm thinking of some quite sort of autumnal colours. So I'm going to start with some big spikes of flowers. So I'll do the stems first. And as always, 5 is quite a nice number to work with. And then let's try the different marks. So here I'm just dotting. So if I go light, I get small dots. Heavier pressure, I get really quite big dots. So I'll do little ones at the top like this, and then heavier pressure down below. I don't know how well these nibs are going to stand up to working on this sort of surface, because gesso is quite a rough surface, so I don't know whether they're going to fray or not, and they don't provide any replacement nibs. Some people who make acrylic markers give you replacement nibs, which is rather lovely, but they're quite fun. And just bigger splodges at the bottom, I reckon. Trying to keep it all fairly random. So I'm really liking how they do layer on top of each other so quickly, because they just dry in the matter of seconds, or enough that you can then work on top, which is rather fun. Sort of lollipop flowers. So they're just going to be sort of circles. Mostly over that side. Some sort of stem, leaves as well. And then we'll give them red centres, just again dots. If they're not totally dry, they'll merge a bit, which is rather nice. So I'm sort of doing little lines and then just very small dots, so hoping these can sort of look like seed heads. I'm going to use the side of here. It's a brush pen, so really use the mark of the pen, sort of form daisy petals. And then I think those can have nice dark centres. Oops. What else should we do? Just to put in some teeny weeny flowers, which I'm just putting 3 dots together, orange in the middle just to join them. So let's just strengthen some of those petals, and we can cover up that one which I didn't like. I'm going to do, sorry, I felt it was getting all a bit samey. So I am going to do a few lurid pink splodgy flowers, and then they just need some centres. What I will need to do is just touch up the edges. I wonder if this is going to be good enough for touching up the edges, and the answer is yes, it is. And I can fiddle away to my heart's content, really, because I think on this sort of painting, little project, rather than being less is more, I think more is more. And then I am going to have to seal this, because if they're being used as coasters, they will get damaged otherwise. Once these are dry, I'm going to use some acrylic varnish. I've got some brush on varnish, which I think I'll use simply because it goes on thicker than a spray, and that should really protect them. And then I will put those little dots on the bottom as well. And I have a little sunny set of wildflower coasters. Really enjoyed using these pens, really enjoyed the colours, and I like the variety of marks that you can get, from the bigger areas that you can then blend to these sort of smaller just suggestions of circles and little sort of ovals and so forth. So I hope that really showed you the versatility of the pens, and I'd love to see anything that you produce with them.